the small hamlet of Merriam Falls had been gossiping about for several weeks. She frowned as she turned to close the door. Normally she didn't notice men, having little use for their arrogant ways and antiquated attitudes, but she couldn't help noticing this one. There was a compelling aura about him, an almost grim intensity, and she wondered if all the rumors she'd heard were true. The man was obviously wealthy. His clothing was well-tailored, and his boots were made from expensive leather. He spoke like a gentleman and dressed like a gentleman, but underneath the deceiving elegance of his attire, Regina sensed a dark side to his character. She'd heard, as had most of Merriam Falls, that Jonathan Belmont Parker was a man whose wrath was to be avoided at all cost. It was said that he ran his businesses like a sea captain did his ship, demanding unwavering loyalty from those he employed. Seeing him now, standing tall and rigid before her, Regina suspected the rumors were more fact than fiction. The man exuded a predatory air of self-confidence. "I was just about to have tea," she announced, smiling in spite of the fluttery sensation that had overtaken her stomach. "Would you care to join me?" "Thank you," Jonathan replied, placing his hat and gloves on the marble-topped table just inside the foyer entrance. He didn't bother asking Regina how she knew his name. His reputation had apparently preceded him. He followed her into the parlor, wondering how the vibrant young lady would react to a proposal of marriage. Jonathan's decision to marry had been made with the same methodical precision he used in managing his numerous businesses. A few months shy of his 36th birthday, and bored with his bachelor life, he'd arrived at the conclusion that it was time to take a wife and begin a family. Being a meticulous man, and having parted with a great deal of money to buy the textile mill, he'd had his manager make inquiries into the citizenry of Merriam Falls. To his amazement, Jonathan had discovered that the small town had one very respectable, very interesting young lady. Regina Van Buren. Miss Van Buren had been born in Merriam Falls and raised in a manner befitting a lady. Her father had died in an accident on the Hudson River. Necessity had dictated that Sylvia Van Buren, Regina's mother, take in boarders. After her mother's death, Regina assumed responsibility for the boarding house on Whitley Street. She attended church regularly and paid her bills on time. Considered dependable and trustworthy, she was a straightforward young woman whose support of the suffrage movement was tolerated by the town's male hierarchy because she was soft-spoken and pleasing to the eye. But it wasn't her political ideology that intrigued Jonathan. A lot of women supported the cause fostered by Susan B. Anthony, Elizabeth Cady Stanton, and Lucy Stone. What made Regina Van Buren intriguing was her hobby. The young lady was infatuated with astronomy. Jonathan's private investigation had revealed that fact, along with several others. Regina possessed an intensive scientific library, centered around the works of Sir Isaac Newton, Sir William Herschel, John Couch Adams, and the French astronomer Urbain Jean-Joseph Le Verrier. It was said on a clear night, winter cold or summer warm, Regina Van Buren could be found atop her flat-roofed carriage house, gazing at stars through the lenses of an 8-foot telescope that had come all the way from Germany. Regina poured tea while Jonathan sat down in a wing chair that faced the fireplace. "Who is this?" he asked as a pair of emerald eyes surveyed him. The large tabby cat stretched leisurely before leaving the cozy comfort of the tiled hearth to rub against Jonathan's trouser leg. "Bramwell," Regina introduced the resident feline. "He's extremely spoiled, terribly fussy about his diet, and utterly adorable only when he wants to be." Jonathan's head was bent as he stroked Bramwell. The light from the fireplace made his hair take on the sheen of wet ink. He was a handsome man. Handsome indeed, and an uncontrollable shiver raced up and down Regina's spine. When he looked up, catching her gaze, she felt the shiver turn into an earthquake of sensations, starting in the center of her body and moving outward like ripples on a pond. The man's presence was having a debilitating effect on her nervous system. Her hands were trembling, and she could feel her heart